Want to treat the docs as a product in itself, and I want to make that product as good as it can possibly be. A lot has happened since the last time I made a video, and I want to tell you all about it. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and settle in, because this is going to be a long rambling video. After 4.5 amazing years, I quit my job at Cockroach Labs last month. I'm incredibly proud and satisfied with my work at Cockroach Labs. I was a founding member of the documentation team, worked on every release from Cockroach DB 1.1 to Cockroach Cloud, all the way to Cockroach DB Serverless, worked on almost every product area, started off as a senior tech writer, got promoted to staff technical writer, and then moved over to developer relations as the first developer advocate at the company. And after 4.5 years, it felt like I had done everything I possibly could and that I had reached the end of my career ladder at Cockroach Labs. And so it was time for a change. So the last few months have been really emotional for me because I was so comfortable at Cockroach Labs and I'm so attached to the people at Cockroach Labs that it took me a very long time to come to terms with the fact that it's time to move on. But everybody at Cockroach has been so supportive and so encouraging, and they all realize that this is a good move for me and my career, and they're really rooting for me, and they have also let me know that I can come back anytime I want to. So it felt really good to leave on a very high note, knowing that I have that safety net in case I need it. So when I finally made peace with the fact that it was time to move on from Cockroach Labs, I started thinking about what comes next for me. What do I want to do? What does my life look like? What does my career look like for the next 5 years maybe? And I realized I was looking for three things. The first was location flexibility. The pandemic has been really bad for my mental health, as with everybody else in the world. I did not get to see my family for 2 years, and that was very bad for my mental health. And I do not want to get in a position again where I have to go that long without seeing my family. I also genuinely believe that remote working and location independence is the future of tech. I wanted a company that is set up with that futuristic vision of a remote, global, distributed workforce. The second requirement I had was I had a salary number in mind, because I have certain financial goals that I want to reach in the next 2 years. So I reverse engineered that number for my financial goal, and I came up with a number that I would need in hand, like base salary, to be able to meet that goal. Number that I came up with from my research, I knew that the FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, do pay that amount of salary pretty regularly, but the market is so crazy right now. The way the timing worked out for me, the tech recruiting market is so hot right now. It's incredibly candidate driven, and also a lot of VC, like venture capital funding, is pouring into the market right now. So startups have much more spending power, and also they have to, because it's a candidate driven market. So if you want to get top talent, you have to pay top money and compete with the FANG companies. So that was a very interesting realization. I could have the best of both worlds and have a FANG salary at a startup. That was one of the factors that played very heavily into my decision of moving on from Cockroach Labs. It kind of became like a now or never situation. Like, if I do not take advantage of this market situation right now, it would make no sense to leave later. Like, it would make no sense to leave a comfortable job later when the market wasn't as good as it is right now. And then the third thing I was looking for was I wanted to go back to documentation. I've talked to a bunch of companies and I realized I did not want to do pure developer relations. I think the field needs to evolve a bit more. Because right now the way developer relation teams are structured, it's very overwhelming. I burned out really badly in just 1 year in the role, and I know many other people did too. And also I missed documentation. That's my first love. I love documentation and I really missed it, and I wanted to go back to it. Also, salary wise, honestly, it made more sense for me look for a technical writing role, because I have 10 years of experience as a tech writer, as opposed to a developer advocate role, because I only have 1 year of experience as a developer advocate. So I would be paid way more for a tech writing role than I would for a developer advocate role. And the company that met all of my criteria and more is Airbyte. I'm joining Airbyte as the first technical writer. Airbyte is a data integration platform that can scale with your data volume needs or your custom connector needs. I know that's a lot of buzzwords. So if you are interested in finding out more about Airbyte or data engineering, I'll leave some helpful links in the description box below so you can go check it out. What that means for me is that I'm going from CockroachDB, which is a database that manages and stores data, to a data integration platform that connects sources like CockroachDB with destinations like data analysis tools so that companies can not only manage their data but also gain insights from their data and make business decisions based on their data. The team at Airbyte raised $150 million in Series B in December. They have incredible traction within the open source community. Really enjoyed the interview process. It was very fast, very efficient. That was one of the things that kind of sold me on Airbyte, because the other companies that I was interviewing with were taking like months to even get an interview scheduled, and Airbyte was like, we started the process in a week, and then by the end of the second or the third week they made me an offer, and it was like the quickest and the simplest and the most efficient interview process ever. I'll make a whole separate video about my interviewing experience, not just with Airbyte, with the other companies as well, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss that video. Going back to the main point, I really enjoyed my interviewing experience with Airbyte. I enjoyed talking to every single person that I talked to during the interviews. I asked for 2 additional interview rounds and they were like, sure, and they were very kind and accommodating with my requests. And I wanted to chat with an engineer and I wanted to chat with the head of people ops, and they arranged both of those calls. And again, really enjoyed both of those interviews. Had a very fun, comfortable conversation with everyone I talked to. But the thing that really sealed the deal for me was their documentation culture. If you see the existing docs at Airbyte, they already have a pretty solid doc set, and it is a documentation set written by engineers and developer advocates and other people at the company. And just their dedication and the way they approach and value documentation is just so refreshing, because the other startups I was talking to consider documentation as like an afterthought or something that you just need to have. But at Airbyte, they really understand the value of documentation. I watched a bunch of videos by users of Airbyte and I read articles by users of Airbyte, and almost all of them talked about how good the docs were. So I'm very happy and excited to work with a team that already gets the value of docs. Like, I don't have to sell them on why they need good docs. And the best part is, because we already have a solid doc set, all the content is already written for me. So I just completed my first week at Airbyte, and I'm finding that my role is not much of technical writing right now. It's more of technical editing, like a more editorial and a more strategic role. My vision for the Airbyte documentation is that I want to treat the docs as a product in itself, and I want to make that product as good as it can possibly be. So I'm not only thinking about the content of the documents, but I'm also thinking about the UX, or how the user interacts with the documents. How do they find the documents? How do they navigate through the documents? How do they search within the documents? Is the documentation accessible? Does it have good SEO? So all these strategic but basic, to be honest, technical writing fundamentals is what I'm finding myself spending time on, and I'm very excited for this. I think personally this is just an amazing opportunity, because I not only get to build the documentation for the open source product and the cloud product, but I also get to build the documentation team, and that's the most exciting part. So very excited, very happy. So I actually finished my first week at Airbyte yesterday. It was a very productive week. Set up my MacBook, unboxed my swag and my gifts, which is where I got this sweater from. The People Ops team and the head of People Ops put together an amazing onboarding bootcamp for us. It was very well structured, very efficient. It had the list of things that I needed to take care of in my first week, so I didn't have to like wonder and didn't feel lost at any point, or didn't feel like my time was being wasted. It was very efficient. That's one thing that keeps coming up. Airbyte is very efficient in terms of culture and how things operate, and that makes me very happy. Also had meetings with my manager and my buddy. I have the best buddy I could ask for. He has been taking care of documentation before I joined, so it's been really fun collaborating with him. We also had a social hour. I think that was my favorite meeting of the week. And then I have been meeting with other people that I'll work with. So product, engineering, tech support, community, meeting everyone. One thing I'm getting used to is the remote work culture. People are globally distributed, so working with everybody's time zones is something that I'm still getting used to. But again, I genuinely think this is the future of tech, and I want to get good at it because, I want to survive and thrive in this brand new world that we live in. Yeah, but so far it has been a really, really amazing experience. And we are hiring. So if you would like to work with me, I'll leave the link for the job description in the description box below. We also have an open referral program, which means if you refer someone and they get hired, then you get $5,000. So even if you aren't ready for a job right now, if you know somebody else who might want to work with us, go check out the link in the description box below. So what does it mean for this channel? Obviously, it means a lot more tech writing content. But this time around, I want to focus more on the fundamentals. I was going through my videos and I realized that I've done a good job of giving an overview of things, like overview of the technical writing process and overview of what documentation is. But now I want to do deep dives. Things like how do you structure a sentence? Or how do you interview? Or how do you negotiate salary? Or how do you learn the new technology? Things like that. So a lot more focused deep dives, and I don't want to rely only on my knowledge, but I want to highlight other technical writing resources because there are so many other creators and books and forums and communities out there that are underrated because not many people know about them. So I kind of want to incorporate them in the content on this channel so that more people get to know about them. Another thing I want to do is focus on my own learning because I feel like I've gotten to a point in my career where it's very easy for me to get complacent and think that I don't need to learn anymore. But that's not true because technical writing is such a dynamic, evolving field. There are so many new tools and new ways of thinking of documentation and books and discussion and whole new fields of tech that will need technical writers very soon, areas like crypto and blockchain and AI. So I don't want to get complacent. I want to stay curious and I want to stay engaged and I want to keep learning. And on this channel, I'll share what I learn because that's what we do here. And then the last thing I want to focus on is making some videos that are just for fun. Because that's my personal goal for 2022 is to just have fun. So I want to start incorporating elements from my life that bring me joy. Things like Dungeons and Dragons and my life in New York and reading and food. Overall, I want to live and share a more holistic, well-rounded, wholesome life as a technical writer. If that sounds interesting, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.